The pirates. "All right, miss, now just follow the light dancing on my antlers," Dr. Lena says as she examines Moira. The Carib doctor is very carefully watching the eyes of the lidrous woman and nods. She and Beck had quickly been able to wrap the stumps of the poor woman to prevent infection, and there had been a flurry of donated clothing to help the poor soul keep her dignity. "All right, now I do recommend some kind of healing coma, but your time in stasis has prevented any infection so far, and your mental state, while distressed, is not disturbed. Considering the circumstances, you're as healthy as can be," Dr. Lena says. "They even shaved my head," that Moira protests. "They didn't just cut off parts of me, they shaved my heads." "I'm sorry to hear that. Thankfully, hair isn't a vital organ. And even more thankfully, you have biology so robust that you're going to make a complete recovery. Provided we can keep clean bandages on those stumps until we get you to a hospital, you should be fine," Dr. Lena reassures the woman. "Remind me, how does the memory of a lidrous work exactly?" Miles asks. "Will Officer Octillery be able to answer some questions?" "I can. This is all so wrong," Moira says and shakes her head. "Right, well, first things first then. Can you get us computer access?" Miles asks, and she gives him an odd look. "What are you people even doing out here? Why would a duke and the barons of a place called Vuxa be on a wild space world?" she asks, and there's a pause. "This is Vuxa 5, a planet in a frontier space system, close to the edge. Yes, but it's been frontier space and not wild for many, many centuries," Miles says slowly. "How many?" "It received its designation as frontier space early in the epoch, year 322. Franklin says, considering. Then the implications visibly seem to hit him. "Oh, ma'am, what is the designation of the last epoch?" Miles asks slowly. "The Age of Unrest, so named due to the galactic-scale rebellions and discontent that lasted for 3 full centuries before being quelled," Moira says slowly, and Miles turns to Franklin, who shakes his head. "That dear girl was the epoch before last. The actual last epoch was known as the time of expansion. Great advancements in FTL technology pushed back the barrier of wild space as the galaxy grew closer together by an order magnitude," Dr. Lena says gently. "Then it's all gone. A few centuries can be waved away. But millennia? Entire epochs? There's nothing left. There's no point. I've been abandoned and—" Moira starts to go into a panic before suddenly collapsing. Lena gives the men a very dirty look. "Thank you for not causing the patient to panic," she says tartly. "You said she was stable." Miles states, "I said distressed but not disturbed. I'm a surgeon and diagnostician, not a psychologist. She wasn't exhibiting signs of shock and then you gave her one," Dr. Lena says. The "you fucking idiot" isn't said out loud, but is clearly heard by everyone present. "Right. Okay, we need to finish sweeping this area and check to see if anyone or anything else has gotten out when the stasis fields were popped," Miles says. "We should get back up to that top floor and examine things there. The mech troopers can sweep the 3rd and then we all move down to the bottom." "Right. Regardless, I'm going to want an escort down to the ship. The docking bay is plenty large, but there's no telling what's hidden in a place like this. Beck, you and Lou stay with her." Miles states and receives a pair of salutes. "Probably best if you give the poor woman some space," Dr. Lena remarks somewhat tartly. "Giselle, Arietta, help me move her. My axiom control is more about delicate surgery and inducing microscale healing comas that don't require retention bands." People start moving after that, and as Lou and Beck follow Dr. Lena, even as Giselle and Arietta actually leave their armor to do quick alterations before projecting force barriers that lift Moira off the ground without effort. "Have fun, you 3, Lou says, looking over his shoulder as they start to move into the complex again. He doesn't bother waiting to ask the important question. "So what did you actually pass by rushing over here from the docking bay?" "It's a straight shot, but there are numerous—" Dr. Lena begins before something moves through the darkness of a side room, and a massive maw filled with arm-length teeth shoots out of the darkness. Adrenaline spikes and a tattoo above his lowest ribs charges the chemical with axiom even as it emerges. For Lou and Beck, reality slows to a crawl and color bleeds away as their weapons are unholstered and the safeties taken off. The creature is inching through their air, so large its whole body can't be seen, and its mouth wide open to take a bite out of them. And it slams directly into 4 solid slugs from an automatic shotgun before Lou uses the gun to stop the creature from biting him. Super slow motion or not, the thing is still in motion and he needs to stop it. There's the staccato of automatic rifle fire as Beck pours rounds into the mass of the creature, and it suddenly shakes and flops down as the pain either knocks it out or he hits something massively vital and kills it instantly. "The hell was that?" Miles demands as he, Jake, and Franklin arrive a heartbeat later. The Axiom-infused adrenaline hasn't completely cleared from Lou and Beck, so to them his shout was the low crawling drag you get when something is played in slow motion. That's one of the serpents. They revived the creatures. They've been extinct long enough to fully fossilize, and they revived them. Franklin notes before there's further movement from inside the dark room. A second serpent tries to launch out, but Franklin catches it in the Axiom and holds it steady. The creature is the worst elements of a giant snake, an eel, and an anglerfish on a scale where it could easily bite a man in half. "There's more in there," Franklin states before frowning. "I can blow the room, but it would destroy a lot of answers. Can't you just close the door?" Beck voices the simple and obvious solution. Tritite alloy Axiom just slips off. Franklin states, and Beck visibly rolls his eyes. "Throw it back in, you little girl. I'll do it." Beck says, shouldering his gun, and Franklin lowers the serpent before launching it and its dead sibling back into the room. Beck rushes forwards, grabs the center wheel of the door and slams the door shut before setting the latch up. He then fiddles around with the mechanism until he finds a lock and engages it. "There, see? Easy. Stop making me look stupid," Franklin says as he can hear a huge amount of movement even through the reinforced door. "Stop being stupid and I might," Beck replies with a chuckle. There's an angry call from inside the freshly sealed room that sounds like it's ripping a throat to pieces and gurgling the blood. Then there's a sudden massive pull on Axiom, and Franklin is wedging a massive construction-grade chunk of metal through the central wheel of the door so that you're more likely to break off the wheel and shatter the mechanism rather than open the door. "Really? I've heard sounds like that in nightmares and nowhere else," Franklin replies, and there's a brief bit of laughter passed around. "All right, funny bit aside, I think we need to change priority. We'll act as guard as you get our friend here to safety, then sweep the area for any further threats or survivors. The fact we have hostiles in the area does not calm me." Miles states, and there's nods. "They also move fast. Franklin, give us light." Jake says, and Franklin nods and lifts his hands, and the room goes from mostly dark to bright as noon under the sun. He then quickly assembles his own rifle and looks around. "I can't sense anything in the halls, but remember, the tritite blocks everything," Franklin remarks as Miles puts his sniper rifle together and loads it ready. "The sooner you tell me what's coming, the sooner it dies," Miles states, and Franklin nods. "No movement though, so be careful." "The door closed behind us automatically when we left the docking bay," Dr. Lena warns. "Machinery?" Franklin asks. "Not that I saw," she answers. "That's a basic trick that a lot of—" Giselle begins. "Sorry. Basic trick used in airlocks a lot. Nothing special, but very normal." "Why didn't the labs have it though? The door to the snake room should have been closed," Jake asked. "We're in a secret, highly illegal lab that is already not up to standard code." "Is that really a surprise?" Miles asked. Nothing else is said, and with a nod from Miles, everyone starts moving down the hallway, and they all freeze as the door to the docking bay begins to open. Then they relax as it's thankfully familiar mech armor. It moves to the side and holds open the door for them, and they quickly rush up and through. The scouting ship is a smooth-edged and dull blue thing. It's built to Angla sensibilities, meaning its internal structure is intense enough to survive blackwater trenches with air inside, or in the vacuum of space while the insides are completely full of water. Moira is rushed up the docking ramp and down the corridor of the ship and then to the left. "Put her here. I need to get some retention bands on her. The sooner and more fully she's recovered physically, the sooner her mental recovery can start," Dr. Lena says as she rushes around the room and gets out memory retention bands for each of Moira's heads. "Is it possible to recover memories off a broken band?" Franklin asks, and he gets a dirty glare from the good doctor. "I'm asking because we found the pieces of broken retention bands in rooms where her Other selves? Stolen bodies? There's a proper term in Lidris languages, but it hasn't been carried into galactic trade, Dr. Lena says. Her dismembered bodies will do. Right, well, her dismembered bodies had been partially regenerated into other Lidris. Both we've found are dead, but there are pieces of broken retention bands around them. Franklin continues, bring all of them to me. I know how to restore them in case of emergency. With that, and the help of some synth ascendancy girls, we can easily get everything off them. Dr. Lena says, first things first though, we need to pacify the area before we start combing over it. Miles orders and everyone quickly follows him out. 2 minutes later and they're lining up right next to the door where the serpents are hidden. Franklin is leaning against it and listening. Tearing flesh, splattering blood and snapping jaws, these things are going cannibal. Right, pop it open and let's tell them what we think of their behavior, Miles says as he stares down his rifle's scope. The I-beam is suddenly bisected, and Franklin turns the handle on the door and then throws it open before dropping down and angles the 2 pieces of the beam to serve as spears aiming upwards. A serpent almost instantly wounds itself on the metal before being thrown backwards by an axiom effect and knocking back another snake that begins to charge only for its cranium to explode under sniper fire. A second one eats a mouthful of plasma and is flash cooked before another 2 run into a hail of bullets courtesy of Lou's shotgun and Beck's automatic. A final serpent charges, but the axiom-controlled spear from Franklin literally nails it to the wall. No movement, Franklin says a few moments later. Room seems clear. Jake says, I see nothing. Lou remarks, clear, Beck says as he scans from left to right. Move in, Miles orders. All 5 men pile into the room with Miles taking place next to the door, which he closes to prevent anything from sneaking up behind them. The enormous room stretches far away into the distance and shows rows upon rows of deactivated stasis pods. The vast majority of them failed long ago for one reason or another, and there are large sea creatures of one form or another dead nearby. Some of the bodies are partially eaten as a hint at these ancient things waking up around the same time. Hello? What have we here? Beck asks out loud as he spots some light on a dust-covered computer terminal. He wipes away the dust and outright laughs. Hey guys, some idiot forgot to log out. What in the computer didn't reset in the literal thousands of years since? Franklin demands. Looks like a no. I can't read this, but I think we might have struck gold. Beck calls over, even as Franklin rushes over. Here, I started downloading a translation app, Franklin says, looking at his communicator. It's only half a minute from completion, so get to work. Thank you, Beck says, taking Franklin's communicator.